What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com, here with a name you know, Richard Holliday of MLW. Richard, thank you so much for taking the time.
Sean, I appreciate you having me on.
We have a lot to talk about because even though we're in the midst of a pandemic, you've had a busy time. You've had a bit of an injury. You've had a contract re-signing. You're in the news an awful lot in a time where a lot of people can't be in the ring.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, the world that we're currently living in. However, to your point, I haven't had too much of a problem staying relevant in the marketplace and in the world of professional wrestling, albeit some good and the contract extension and some bad with my very bad injury that I sustained. So it is all noteworthy, but it's good at the same time.
So how are you feeling? You said that you had a mild strain of your hamstring. How's that doing right now, and how did it happen?
Yeah, I mean, as an elite athlete, anytime you suffer an injury of any magnitude, it needs to be treated with the utmost care. And luckily, I have a medical doctor who's a very close friend of mine, who I was able to go ahead and get it checked out within about less than 24 hours, which is fantastic, especially in today's climate of healthcare. And it was just a mild strain. I did it while I was sprinting, doing a bit of calisthenic exercises, as one may say.
Yes.
And it was a freak accident. And I have been icing it and elevating it and doing all the proper procedures, and should be good to go in no time.
So you're not going to miss any ring time if that ring time does occur very soon.
If any ring time were to occur soon, I mean soon within the next week to 2 weeks, then there might be a little bit of a pessimistic mindset in terms of getting back into the ring. But the world that we're living in right now, I think my hamstring should be almost better than it was prior to the injury.
It seems to be a recurring theme among those in the Dynasty. You overcome injuries and end up a lot stronger afterwards. Wow, it's something in the water there. What are you drinking there? Are you drinking coffee right there?
Of course, I'm drinking coffee out of the brand new Dynasty coffee mug that any consumer can purchase on MLWshop.com.
So I mentioned the ring time, all that. It seems like this has been the first time in probably years that you've had this much time out of the ring. Would that be safe to assume?
Oh, very safe. Very safe. I mean, March 13th was the last time I was in the ring, which was in Tijuana, Mexico, for Major League Wrestling in front of 5,000 screaming consumers. And I haven't been in the ring since. So it's been it's June 10th at this point. We're coming up on almost 3 months, which is crazy.
How long has it been since you went 3 months without wrestling?
It would have to be never. I believe ever since my first match, back in 2015, I've never had a 3 month lull in this sense. And, it's good on my body. I mean, maybe if I was in the ring, I wouldn't have been sprinting. I wouldn't have suffered this awful hamstring injury. So, but it's different. The body gets used to wrestling every so often. And now that it's not with you, maybe my body is just reacting.
You mentioned how it benefits your body. How does it affect your mindset, if at all? Because, I mean, as a competitor, I'm sure that you had become acclimated. And, I mean, does that affect you psychologically, whether it be taking out frustration or aggression or anything of that nature, to not be able to do that inside the ring for 3 months at a time, and who knows how long it'll be?
No, I do believe that some people within the industry might be experiencing some of those maybe psychological side effects that you might be referring to. I am not like that. I'm very level-minded. I have a very clear understanding of what's going on, and I kind of look at this as this is like any other major sport. Any major sport has off seasons, and if you put yourself in the mindset that, hey, this is simply just an off season and I'm going to get back to it, well, then psychologically you can deal with this a lot easier. And it's financially, I am in no constraints, so it hasn't impacted me in that way. So no, I'm doing just fine. I am eager to get back, I will say that, but I haven't been affected per se.
Your contract status has been affected. It was announced recently that you have, I don't know if it said re-signed, but you had come to terms for an agreement for multiple years with MLW. What can you tell us about that, how that came about, and your relationship with MLW now being extended for a couple of years?
Yeah, so my contract discussions did begin to pop up, and it was something that they were very eager to get done. They wanted to resign me, obviously, because they see the money in me and they see the investment and what I bring to the table. And from a marketing perspective, obviously, it makes a ton of sense. So if I were them, if I were the business owner, I would make it my own personal agenda to eagerly sign me as well. Why I decided to stay was just taking a look at the climate of professional wrestling, taking a look at where the industry is as a whole and where I foresee it to be within the next 5 years. I felt like Major League Wrestling was the best platform for me to stay with. And I did extend my contract, and it is a mutually beneficial agreement, I will say that. And I'm very much looking forward to what MLW is going to do in the future. And there is so much room for expansion, and I feel like I'm going to be the one kind of guiding that ship into that direction.
So I know that if I see this stuff that you do, because it's about you, but when the re-signing happened, and even when I asked for questions about this interview, a lot of people says, well, he's got the WWE look, because you're a big dude, you're young, you've got that look about you. So MLW had to know that there was interest from other places based on your talent set, based on how you look, based on the work that you put in. Was there any back and forth, or were you pretty well set to kind of carry that torch for MLW for the years to come?
Well, I think they understand that this is a business and I am a businessman. And a smart and wise businessman never just makes a rash decision. You don't make a decision based off emotion. You make a decision based off rationality. And of course, there was, negotiations in this, and there was me looking in other directions, of course. And it all came down to making the smartest decision for me. And, people always say you have the WWE look. Great. What does that mean? And I think I know what that means, but it's relative. What about the Major League Wrestling look? I would say to that, I think I have the Major League Wrestling look, and if I have the WWE look, I think you would agree with that. So it's, the consumers, they say so many different things about I should be here or I should be there. Why aren't you here? I wish you'd follow this guy there. It's fun in the sense, but why don't you just watch MLW and see me there?
Yeah, and that's the thing that I would kind of, when people would send in Q&As and they would say, Richard Holliday, Alexander Hammerstone, they've got the WWE look. And I'm like, well, that look is the MLW look, and we know that because there is a consistent track record of WWE wanting MLW talent as soon as they pop up on MLW TV, to the point where MLW has been on the record saying, please don't contract tamper with our wrestlers, because it's happened. Like the WWE roster is full of former MLW talent. And I think that MLW has proven to be a platform that other companies take notice of. Like there are so many wrestlers that had never popped up on TV before, and as soon as they're on MLW, they land on the radar of these companies. What do you think that says about MLW and the type of platform they provided? Because it has brought a lot of wrestlers to the forefront.
I've said it for so long. Major League Wrestling is exactly what it is. It is major. It's a major platform within North America and globally. Look at all the distributions that Major League Wrestling has provided for us. We are in television in several different countries. We're television in France. We're Ireland, the UK, India, Africa. So many different countries outside of America have the opportunity to watch Major League Wrestling. Canada, and it's internationally known. And then within the States, wrestling has evolved in the sense that it is not just I watch this one. There are certainly we'll use WWE as an example. There are just WWE consumers who just watch WWE. But then there are consumers of the industry, and they watch whatever they can get their hands on. And Major League Wrestling has to be, on the one hand, discussion of promotions that you're going to watch. So when you see an Alexander Hammerstone or a Richard Holliday appear on a Major League Wrestling screen, the initial instinct is, well, I wish that they were on this platform. I wish that they were on WWE. All the while, it's so ironic that they're literally watching Major League Wrestling and seeing us on this platform, not really realizing and digesting, well, I am watching Alexander Hammerstone. I am watching Richard Holliday. I'm watching them right now. And that kind of just goes over their head because they just automatically, they want that transition to a different platform. It makes no sense to me.
Well, it hasn't been all sunshines and rainbows for you in MLW. You've been, for months, it seemed like you were trying to get them to recognize the Carrribean Championship. Or is it Carrribean? How would you pronounce it?
I pronounce it Carrribean, and okay. I feel like I am 100% accurate when I say that.
There you go. How did that progress? The Carrribean Championship, the development of that, how did that come about for you personally?
Well, the Carrribean Championship has been on a rocket ship since I've gotten it. And it has become one of the most, if not the most talked about things in all of Major League Wrestling. And I don't want to say that it's overshadowing the MLW Heavyweight Championship, because I believe that is what most of the roster is striving to hold. However, the Carrribean Championship has taken a life of its own, and I take 100% responsibility for that. Because once I won it, rightfully, from Savio Vega in Dallas, Texas on that evening, it has become the forefront of Major League Wrestling. And consumers every single day will tweet at me, and they'll tweet at Court Bauer and the brass at Major League Wrestling and saying, recognize this championship. And my God, I believe it deserves to be recognized as an official MLW championship. I've defended it. I defended it in Tijuana against Chessman.
Yeah.
It has to. I mean, what does that say? So, you know, it's just taken on a life of its own because of me.
So when that title is developed, like, do you plan on sort of adding to it if MLW won't recognize it? Do you think that, like, you know how there have been wrestlers over the years who have maybe went their own route with championships, and you say this is a legitimate championship. MLW, while they might not agree, it apparently is still out there as a possibility. Are you going to add any of your own flair to that continually as it progresses on? Like, are you going to get more loud, more boisterous about this feeling of making this a legitimate MLW title as opposed to one that they haven't recognized?
I will not stop. They will not stop hearing from me until this MLW championship is rightfully bestowed upon everything else that is the other championships, the National Openweight Championship, the Tag Team Championship, the Heavyweight Championship. Now it's the Carrribean Championship. And it's on the same platform as the other three, and it should be, and rightfully so. And my lawyers / my father, and we will be constantly down their throats until this happens. I don't know what I need to do, you know, maybe from a television standpoint. I'll start holding Carrribean Championship Open challenges. Do I need to do that? It's worked in the past. Maybe that's something. I'll put that out there in the open right now. The second the MLW comes back, I want to have a Carrribean Open Challenge championship match against anybody in the roster, anybody in the industry. Maybe they'll recognize it then.
Well, it's obvious that they've recognized the impact that the Dynasty has made, because you re-sign, Hammerstone re-sign, MJF was still all over MLW programming even after he had went and done stuff at AEW. So it's one of those things where they might say you're a thorn in their side, but it's like, oh, you need that thorn in your side to survive type of thing. Like, you can't remove something that's vital to the company. What do you think that their investment into you and Hammerstone says about their, I don't know if it's confidence or recognition that you guys are integral to their brand?
Well, I think it all starts with when the Dynasty formed over a year and a half ago, with Maxwell, myself, and Hammer. And I'm not so sure what the company knew that they had at that point. You know, it was something that just started happened, and then it just progressed and progressed and progressed until we were the talk of Major League Wrestling. It was the Dynasty. You watch MLW, you talk about the Dynasty. It's synonymous. And now it's to the point where, yes, they did re-sign me to a long-term deal, Hammerstone to a long-term deal. Gino Medina is still with the company. We had Maxwell for what we had, and now that's what the consumers are talking about. That's what you were talking about. When I do interviews, it's all about the Dynasty. So now I know that the company knows. Yeah, are we a thorn in their side? Well, potentially. I mean, maybe recognize my championship, and that thorn will be a little looser. But we're doing such good for the company. Hammerstone goes over into Japan and has the National Openweight Championship defended over a 30-day tour with Pro Wrestling Noah. They put me onto ABC News to promote Fightland Philadelphia.
Saw that.
There's so many things that they have the Dynasty do to represent the company, because we're the ultimate representation.
I saw, actually, I think it was a clip from that Philadelphia interview where you were discussing the very AirPods that you're wearing now. I think it was. You mentioned they were an investment. Is that the only pair you've ever bought?
No.
I wasn't sure, because I didn't know if how that worked, if you took care of them, if you saw an investment as something that you wouldn't have to reinvest in. I had a lot of people say, please compare them to Raycons or Galaxy Buds.
Well, I don't know what Raycon or Galaxy Buds are, because I don't really waste my time researching lower level products.
Ooh.
However, I do have several pairs of AirPods, because there are several instances in which I need to wear them. There's the grocery shopping AirPods. There is the interview AirPods. There are the gym AirPods. There are the walk down to the ring AirPods. There's several AirPods. I mean, it's just a matter of when I need them and when they're at my disposal.
We had also spoken earlier about your new MLW contract, but we haven't spoken a lot about how you landed in MLW. And that was, I believe, late 2018. I remember you were in the Battle Riot. How did that offer come about to come in and then to remain with the company?
Yeah, it's quite interesting, actually, because MLW for the longest time was primarily focused down in Orlando. Mm-hmm. And I live in Connecticut. So logistically, initially, they did have interest in me, but it was a lot easier for me to debut in New York rather than Orlando. So once the communication had begun between both parties, they had reached out and said, well, we're doing the Battle Riot in New York. We'd like you to be a part of it. So, of course, I obliged, and I show up to the event, the Melrose Ballroom in Queens. And I show up, custom suit, owning the room, and then right then and there, they give me the opening match. They said, well, we can't just waste you on the Battle Riot. We need to see more. So I was actually the first match. I was the first entrant into the first match for the first MLW show in New York City. So I was the first exposure for the consumers right then and there. And it's funny the way it works, because then 2 months later they're back in MLW. Now I'm one-on-one with Joey Ryan, who at the time was prominent within the company. 2 weeks after that, they offered me a contract. And it's all about, first impressions, second impressions. And when you wow somebody on the first and second time, well, then why even have a third impression? Let's just get this guy under contract immediately. And then we just hit the ground running from there.
Seems like it's worked out for both parties pretty well, and stuff like that. And them re-signing guys like you and Hammerstone seems like it may have helped lead to this new deal with DAZN that was just announced. So MLW is a little bit of everywhere, though. I am a subscriber of DAZN. I think it's great especially for boxing. I watch a lot of Bellator on there. But your thoughts when you had heard that this deal with DAZN had come together?
Tremendous. I thought it was a fantastic move. This is just another way that MLW separates itself from other promotions within the marketplace. And upon doing research about DAZN, there are a vast amount of subscribers. It is huge. It was referred to as the Netflix of sports. And for us to be on the Netflix of sports, well, what's that say? That means that tons of new eyeballs are going to be on the product, right there at the consumer's exposure. And it's just onwards and upwards growth for the company, which is part of the reason why I stayed with MLW, because I saw that the trajectory of which this company has the opportunity to go on. It can really, really grow. And Court is doing a tremendous job at managing this company, other than recognizing my Carrribean Championship. He is doing everything right. And he's putting us in a position to succeed. And then when you have guys like me, guys like Hammerstone leading the company, I can only imagine the discussions between Court and the brass at DAZN. They probably just looked at Hammerstone and myself and said, well, I need these two on my platform. I need these two. It was probably just as simple as that.
As we wrap up, I have a couple more questions for you. A wrestler once told me that if I've never taken a pile driver and I refuse to take one, that I don't know how to work. How do you feel about that statement?
I mean, I don't know who said that. If I've never taken a pile driver, I don't know how to work. I mean, I would just say, I just think that's an out of context statement that I'm not sure holds a lot of weight. Maybe it did when it was said. I'm just going to assume that statement was probably said in the 90s, maybe. I mean, I don't know who said that or why it was said.
Well, we do have a reader question from a Maxwell from Plainview, New York, who says, why are you such an awful wrestler who refuses to take a pile driver from a Canadian legend?
From a Maxwell from Plainview, New York?
Yeah, that's the name that I have listed here from this reader.
I would just tell Maxwell from Plainview, New York, that even Canadian legends don't have the right to do a pile driver to me. It's my neck, and I believe I have the decision to make that. Thank you, Maxwell. I do appreciate the question, though.
So before we get out of here, let the people know where they can follow you, where they can see you. Obviously, MLW is on DAZN. You can catch it on YouTube. There's no reason for people to not check out MLW. I constantly check out their content. There's a lot of great archived MLW content that's coming to light too, as well. A lot of wrestlers that have become huge over the last really 15, 20 years have made their way through MLW, and the roster right now is insane. But where can they find you? Where can they find what you're doing?
You can find me personally on Instagram and on Twitter at Most Marketable. Same handle on both platforms. And then watch me on YouTube, watch me on DAZN, watch me on BN Sports. So many platforms and opportunities for you to watch me do my thing as a Carrribean champion for Major League Wrestling. You can find my merch stores on ProWrestlingTees.com, type in Richard Holliday, or go to MLWshop.com. The brand new rarefied air shirt has officially been dropped. The Dynasty coffee shirt is also available. And of course, the Dynasty coffee mug. Make your morning coffee dynastic at MLWshop.com.
Richard, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Sean, thank you very much. I appreciate it as well.
Guys, until next time, we're out.